All right, how's it going, everyone? I just wanted to give a quick review of this microclimate air. And what can I say about it? Well, before I go into the pros and cons, I'll just say right out uh, for $199, which is what I paid for it. I don't mind paying that. I think that's a good deal for $199. But since then, they have increased the price to $299, and for me, $299 is something I would not pay for this uh, helmet mask, um helmet slash mask. But let me go ahead with the pros and cons, and you guys can decide for yourself if you want to get this or not. But for the pros, the best thing is it has HEPA filtration for the intake, which is on top, and the exhaust, which is on the bottom. There's like four filters for because they have two fans on top and two on the bottom. So there's a filter for each of the fans, and so you are protected in terms of what you're breathing in, and uh, even if you're sick, you're not going to get others around you sick because the HEPA filtration is gonna HEPA filter is gonna take care of that. So that's a good pro. It's supposed to have a long battery life, but honestly, I haven't really tested it to the max. Longest I've worn it at any one given time was maybe 30 minutes, but I've maybe charged this twice. Um, Not that it drained completely or anything like that, but kind of just to top it off. It's relatively light. It's not that heavy. Now, again, I've only worn it for maybe 30 minutes max. I haven't really worn it on a long flight, for example. This would have been if I got this like before November, because I went to California in November, and that's like a 5 hour flight. If I had if I had this at that time, I could really try it out and see how comfortable it might be during that trip. Uh, but people seem to um, say give high remarks in terms of that. So who knows? Uh, there are cushions for the head and for the top part of your head and the side to make it fit well. And those are on by Velcro, so you could easily remove them and wash them, and you can place them a certain way as well to make it the most comfortable for you, uh, the most supportive for you. So those are kind of the pros. Now I'm going to go into the cons of it. First of all, it, I just mentioned cushions, but for me, I've got kind of a wide head, and so the side cushions don't really fit for me. So I actually use this with just a top cushion, and I have the side cushions removed. And it wasn't very, it felt very loose, and it felt like it was rocking back and forth a lot. So what I did was I bought some helmet pads from Amazon, and I put that right next to the top cushion, and that actually helped a lot in terms of comfort and stability of this helmet. And so that's one of the cons. It is loose. Here's the thing though: if you're sitting on a flight, it's perfect because you're not really moving around that much. But again, for me, I don't fly around that much. Maybe twice a year. That's it, if that. I bought this so that I could maybe use it for work, so I can be more protected at work. The thing about that is, if you're not upright, if your body or your head is not in an upright position, then if you're like bending down a bit or looking to the side, because I do IT work, and I repair computers. If you're trying to look behind a computer and stuff, it's gonna move around. And if you're going to bend down and look down, then it's potentially this helmet could just come down like that. But thankfully, it's not going to fall completely off and hit the floor, because this neck part here, you're going to have that tightened around your neck, and so that will prevent it from falling to the floor. But it will make you look pretty dumb if sees you and sees the helmet suddenly go bloop like that, you might scare someone. They might think your head just fell off or something. So that's one of the cons. If you have eyeglasses like I do, you have to be a little bit more careful when you're wearing it, because for me, I don't like it when my glasses are crooked and when they're in a position where I feel like it's gonna slip right off. So you got to kind of put it on carefully and make sure you stretch the neck part enough so that your glasses don't get messed up. So that's my big thing. The other thing is, I live in a pretty cold environment during winter. The temperatures outside, they might be in the 30s, 40s, or even below. We had some times during this winter in particular, it went. I've seen it go down to in the teens, but it's not like super cold like some other climates. It's Virginia, so it's it's definitely colder than, like, say, Southern California, but it's not as cold as your northern states, for example. When you are coming in from a cold temperature like that, like in the 30s, for example, and you're going into a room temperature house, or say a store or something that's room temperature, or vice versa. You're going from a room temperature store or home, and you're going outside where it's super cold. Then sure enough, the lens is the shield, the lens shield here is going to start to fog up, especially on this bottom part. Is going to fog up where your nose and your mouth, where you're breathing out, is going to fog up here, and eventually, if you have the fan on high, eventually, slowly, it will dissipate. But yeah, it's going to be slow. I've seen some video where some guy he turned off the fan, and then he started breathing hard just so that he can fog up the whole glass, the acrylic here, just so he can fog it all up. And then he would turn the fan on, and then it would pretty quickly, the fog would dissipate. But it's different when there's such a huge difference between the outside air and the air that's inside here, that's been circulating inside here. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now, I haven't seen it to a point where you're looking, the part where you're looking through is blocked, or anything. The fog doesn't go that high. It's just this bottom portion, like right about, I would say right about here. So you can still see fine, So it's just I don't know, maybe it's just a slight annoyance. The other thing is, for me, wearing this at work, I have to interact with people. You would think that that's perfect. It's perfect to have this because you'll be protected, right? But the problem is, your voice is muffled. Okay, your voice when you're talking is muffled. When you're talking, it's loud to you. It's very loud to you because the sound waves are bouncing around in here, and it's being amplified as you're talking. But for the people on the outside, you are very muffled. Now, will they be able to understand you? Yeah, if you talk loud enough, they will understand you. But again, it's going to be really loud. Now, if you talk softly to the point where it's comfortable for you, well, in that case, they're not going to be able to understand you. You're going to have to talk louder just for them to understand you, but then your ears might hurt because your voice is like bouncing back at you, and it's really loud. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Also, your ears are inside this helmet. So when you have the fan has two speeds. When you have it on the low speed, I think you can hear people. It's very quiet, and I was able to hear people as long as they didn't talk too quietly. Now, my daughter, she has a very low voice, and so a soft voice, I'll say. She has a soft voice, so I have a harder time understanding her. But if you're talking like this, someone's talking like this level of volume, and they're relatively close to you, then you'll be able to hear them. But when the fan's on high, then forget about it. You're gonna have a hard time hearing them, understanding what they say. So you're gonna be flipping, you're gonna be putting your finger in here, and you're gonna be flipping from high to low or high to off just to hear them. And one of the solutions by Microclimate that they were kind of suggesting was using the AirPods, because it has like a live listen feature. So basically, it uses the mic on your phone, and it transmits the sound directly to your AirPods. So that could work. But for me, that doesn't quite work well. And I think it's because my AirPods are kind of, well, the AirPods that I have the second generation, and it's like this hard plastic that is very slippery in your ear. It doesn't really fit really snug. And so when I put my helmet on, a lot of times it shifts it a little bit where it's kind of loose. And so it's not really in my ear. And so because of that, maybe that could be why that live listen feature isn't working as well. I actually ordered some silicone covers that will hopefully help it to stay in my ear canal a little bit better. And if that's the case, then maybe it will help some. But one of the things that you'll have to be aware of is you probably have to be holding your phone, in your hand and kind of pointing it in the direction where you're trying to pick up the sound. Because if you don't do that, if it's in your pocket, for example, that microphone is going to pick up the sound of the cloth in your pocket, or your keys, or it's going to pick up the closest sound, and that's going to be amplified instead of the voice that's like 10 feet away from you. So you get what I'm saying. So you're going to probably have to point that phone in a certain direction, that where you want to pick up the sound from. So I don't know if that's really a good solution, because if you are trying to use, or if both of your hands are you're doing something with them, like you're trying to carry something with both your hands, or you're working on something and using both your hands, how are you gonna like aim your phone to the person that you're trying to hear? But again, if you're in an environment that where you can have the fan speed on this helmet to low, then chances are you'll be able to hear people better. But again, it's if you're coming in from a different, like a much colder environment, or much hotter environment to a colder whatever, it's you're gonna have to put the fan on to maximum until your this acrylic shield part clears up. Then you can go ahead and lower it. But if you're exerting yourself, on the other hand, you might want to keep it on high just to keep yourself cool. There's one thing I learned was that when using this and moving equipment, moving computer equipment, even with the fan on maximum, it wasn't enough to cool me down. And I would start sweating in this thing. And without it, I wouldn't be sweating because I would have more airflow around my head. But with this on, I would end up sweating more. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Here's another thing to keep in mind is when you're outside in the sun, it feels like when you're wearing this, it feels like it's much hotter than when you're not wearing it. Now, I don't know if I didn't do any kind of scientific measurement where I had some kind of a thermometer inside, and I didn't do anything like that, but it just felt like the sun's rays were like cooking me inside this. Maybe the acrylic was like amplifying the sun's rays onto my head or something. I don't know, but that's kind of what I felt like. Aside from that, yeah, that's about it. That's about it. I wouldn't buy it again because I don't think I would want to pay $299 for this. If I were someone who was who took a lot of frequent trips, frequent flights here and there, I think this would be a good investment because you never know the kind if the person next to you might be sick. You never know, and you know some airlines they pack the flights, and which really surprised me when I was going to California in November. American Airlines, I'll say it, you know that flight was completely packed, and I kind of felt uncomfortable. I was wearing my mask all the time. I didn't even want to take it off, but people were taking it off and they were eating and things like that. Um, but if that's not you, if you're not like a frequent flyer or anything, and it's you hardly travel at all, then I don't know if I don't know if this is going to be worth $2.99 or even $1.99. These days, there are more alternatives coming out that do have HEPA filtration. In fact, there's one that I ordered that is like $80. So that's a really good price compared to this, and that too has HEPA filtration, and it covers your head, your eyes, and your mouth, like this part, and it leaves your ears open so you could hear perfectly fine. So I don't know. Will that be better than this in terms of my use in a work environment? Maybe so. And you know, it could definitely be much more cost effective than something like this. But anyway, that's my take on this. Hope you enjoy the video. And if you have any questions, if you want to ask me something that I didn't really talk about, then feel free to leave a comment below. Thanks a lot, guys, and stay safe. See ya.